These dwarfs might remind you of the Koropokaru, said to be overly aggressive, but they were also said to be overwhelmingly shy and hated to be seen more than anything else. They would conduct business with men only at night. Once, a man spotted one of the Koropokaru people. They disappeared, in a manner of speaking, and were never heard from again. Most of these dwarf men do hide their queer faces behind large hats or similar devices, and also only appear to work with each other and no one else. That said, they don't show much fear at the prospect of being seen by enemies. They could very well be the Koropokaru people, but they could also not be. Tengu are usually thought to be winged creatures that resemble birds, some more so than others. In legend, the Tengu will either be a danger thanks to their superior natural traits and gifts allowing them to drop victims from great heights or outmatch them with formidable strength or martial prowess. Failing that, they'll try to trick people in some way. Though in the myths, the Tengu themselves have been fooled into using their fans that elongate a person's nose on themselves, or into giving away a valuable cloak of invisibility for something not nearly as valuable, and even showering a person in gold after the person claimed to be deathly afraid of the material. Legend has it that the Yamabushi Tengu were priests who deceived a few too many trusting peoples and had their noses extended and entire form changed because of their trickery. Your guess as to whether something similar has happened to the Tengu of these lands is as good as mine. Not all Tengu seem to hate humans. Those that follow the commander appear as loyal as they come, and the myths do hold a story of a certain Tengu leader training a boy who would avenge his clan. As far as you're concerned, though, for the most part, they're still by no means friends. Now we have the first of many questionable creatures. Sumo wrestling is allegedly 2,000 years old, and was created in the Heian period, between 794 and 1192. The royal families of the time enjoyed watching the practice. Your average sumo wrestler needed and needs to be around 330 kilograms weight, or at least excessively big and excessively heavy. These walking piles of sumo muscle probably have their muscles in the right place. That said, Oni come in plenty of shapes and sizes, usually sporting a loincloth that is said to be made from pelts of some great beast. But the one thing all Oni share is their immense strength and build. Oni themselves were born as humans, but they were likely despicable in their lifetime, and so went to one of the many hells available. There, they at some point transform into hulking beasts that you're very well acquainted with by this point, I'm sure. They served the higher-ups in these hells, punishing the other inhabitants of the realm, and were a known threat to humans. These hulks are not adverse to using large weapons to deal with their prey, ranging from clubs to the more specialized kanabo. The rule seems to be, must be large and must be very painful when slammed into men, so gallivant at your own peril. Some Oni were so vile and so irredeemable that they became part of the walking monstrosities whilst still alive on the earth, terrorizing men and getting plenty of fame in the stories and legends. The word Oni didn't originally refer to large ogre hulking monsters, but was used as an umbrella term for all kinds of supernatural beings, from ghosts to monsters. The word itself, meaning hidden or concealed, used the Chinese character for ghost at first, but over the years, the definition has been expanded and more specialized. Whilst the origin of the former Goliath was questionable, this one fit the traditional description of an Oni much better. The men here had the good sense to restrain the brute, and once he breaks free, there's little wonder as to why. He puts his strength to much better use than the previous Oni, and he's covered in blood. Perhaps he earned those shackles well, perhaps those glowing eyes gave the men the wrong impression. After all, they scream Oni, more so than anything else on the road, thus far. The legends tell of plenty of headless yokai. The Kubikajuri lost its head whilst on the earth, and roams graveyards alone in search of heads. None suffice, and so the yokai eats each disappointment. The Haridashi are demons with many forms, one of which being headless, but They have little interest in causing harm or disrupting humans in any meaningful way, preferring to be drunkards instead. Most other headless spirits tend to be female, and are noted to have been very different from the headless of these lands. Perhaps the headless is a twisted amalgamation of these different yokai. Not so far into the journey, an Uwabami or Daija shows up to slow you down. It clearly doesn't want you to go forward, perhaps out of gluttony, as the beasts are known to eat men in dreadful quantities. Perhaps it is the guardian of the mountains, as some have proven to be in the myths. In those stories, the great serpent could speak and shapeshift, abilities that our potential guardian hasn't displayed yet. They also haven't set up much of any traps, or used the elements to their advantage, so perhaps this giant snake is just a giant snake, and nothing more. Especially when you consider that their vision doesn't seem to be as developed as you would expect a guardian spirits to be. Carps, or koi fish, were highly valued thanks in part to a particular tale. A school of carps honed their strength by challenging the Yellow River in China and swimming upstream. When most reached the waterfall near the river's end, they turned back, allowing the river to wash them toward the beginning. But some stubborn fish leapt from the waters, longing to reach the top. Their struggle attracted the attention of nearby demons, who promptly mocked the fish, extending the waterfall out of spite when the fish continued. 100 years passed, and a carp finally ascended to the top of the waterfall. This display of perseverance and talent impressed the gods, so much so that they transformed the fish from a mere carp into a dragon, one of the most significant representations of strength and power available. Depending on the color and overall quality of the catch, a koi or carp could make a fisherman more than wealthy. There's little wonder why this man wants to trade the scales for some valuable item. The Ushi-Oni is one of the more common bull beasts that appear in legend. Make no mistake, just like these perilous lands, this beast is no friend to man. It has the head of a bull or oxen, but the body of a spider, and may play tricks on fishermen, calling them away from their valuable load with a deceptive voice in likeness to that of a man, then feasting on the contents of their boat before disappearing. More commonly, they are known to attack and eat people, and sometimes come with a winged beetle's body or a dragon's head. The burning aspect of this blazing bull may have been inspired by the works of the foreign Perilos, who invented a new torture contraption for a tyrant named Phalaris. The bull was made of bronze and featured a spacious inner section, though the bull itself was no bigger than a normal bull. Perilos even created a device that converted the screams emanating from inside the bull to the sounds a bull would actually make. Criminals would be trapped inside the bull and a fire made underneath it. The intention was to roast the victim alive as punishment for their crimes. Perilos himself was the first tester of the bull against his own will, but was saved from death by Pharaohs, only to be dragged to a hill's peak and thrown from the top, courtesy of Pharaohs himself. Legends say that the brutal tyrant met his end from the bull's belly as well, but I'm certain you and I can both agree that the blazing bull is a gross perversion of this original brazen bull. Okay, so first thing, some of these backstories might be stretched a bit because, well, I'm not 100% sure about some of the characters, what they necessarily are. Case in point, the whole Oni part after the Tengo bit. Not 100% sure that those guys are necessarily demons, but it is what it is. And of course, I wasn't 100% sure exactly what the dwarf thingies were in Japanese mythology, so forgive some things like that. Second thing, I missed off some species and beasts because either A, there was too much to cover on them, so I didn't quite fit them in. I wanted to get something out. The example of that is the rooster enemies. And other things didn't quite get much on them enough to mention, so those were the Shinobi Ninja Woman. Didn't really get much on her yet, so perhaps in the second video I'll add them on at the start or the end somewhere, maybe if I find some more stuff about them between now and then. I'm going to continue this up. Hopefully keep this series going till we get to the end of the game, and we're going to correct anything that we find out to be not quite the case, not quite true, as we go along. So probably find out what those big giant guys are, then I'll correct that in a later video. Unless I'm correct, which would be nice. Current assumption is that they're either men or demons. So one of the two's probably fine. If they're one or the other, I won't bother correcting. So yeah. And with that said, I hope that you enjoyed exploring some Japanese mythology with me. If you did, you know the drill. And, of course, until the next video, have a very good day. You know who I am by now. I'll see you in a few. Bye-bye.